The AI model the US government restricted is back online today. Claude Fable 5 is live again, and here is exactly why it was pulled in the first place. Let's set the scene. On the 1st of July, 2026, Anthropic switched Claude Fable 5 back on. This is one of their most capable models. Anthropic calls it Mythos class, meaning it sits in the top tier of what they build. So capable that the US government slapped export controls on it, and now it's back for regular users. Here is where you can use it right now. Fable 5 is live on Claude.ai. It's back in the Claude platform. Enable job codes re-el enixiguruf in the scroll code, and it's through Cowork. The cloud versions come next. Anthropic says it'll re-enable Fable 5 on AWS, Google Cloud, and Microsoft Foundry as quickly as possible. So if you use it through a cloud provider, watch for that to light up soon. So that's the headline. Everyone will run with, the restricted model is back. But hold on, because the word people will reach for is unrestricted, and that word is doing a lot of heavy lifting. Fable 5 didn't come back without a lock, it came back with a new one. So let's slow down and get it right, because most videos are going to get this part exactly backwards. Why was it pulled at all? Rewind to the 12th of June, 2026. That's the day the US Commerce Department applied export restrictions to Fable 5, and to its more tightly controlled sibling, Mythos 5. Both models, same action, same day. Let me handle that sibling right now, so it doesn't hang over the rest of this. Mythos 5 is the even more tightly controlled model. Its access was restored too, but only for a set of US organizations, and only after the government's the 26th of June approval. That happened as part of something called the Glasswing program. So Mythos 5 is not coming to your consumer account. It went back to approved organizations. 2 different tiers, 2 different stories. The one you can actually touch is Fable 5, so let's stay on that. Now this is the part everyone is going to sensationalize, so listen carefully. This was not censorship. This was not the government deciding the model was too edgy or too smart to be allowed to think. This was a security issue, a very specific one, and the agency involved tells you that. Commerce isn't a speech regulator. It runs export controls, the same kind of rules that govern advanced chips and sensitive technology. That framing matters, because export control is about who can access a capability, not about what ideas a model is allowed to express. Here is what actually happened. Amazon researchers were probing Fable 5, and they found a jailbreak, a single prompt that bypassed the model's safeguards. And with those safeguards down, Fable 5 did something the government cared about. It identified a number of software vulnerabilities. And in one case, it produced code demonstrating how one of those vulnerabilities could be exploited. So sit with that. The concern was never the model's opinions. The concern was cyber exploit capability escaping its safeguards, discovered through a research jailbreak. That's it. That's the reason for the export control. Not that it's too dangerous to think that it could, under a very specific attack, help write exploit code. And to be clear, this is not the model hacking anything on its own. It flagged weaknesses and, in a single case, wrote demonstration code, and only after researchers deliberately broke its safeguards to see what would happen. And that's the whole point of red teaming. You find the crack before someone else does. Amazon poking at it this hard is the system working, not failing. Better a friendly research team surfaces the technique than a hostile actor finds it quietly. So the government stepped in, export controls went on, Fable 5 went dark. And then, about 2.5 weeks later, the piece that actually brought it back, the US Commerce Department lifted the export controls. That's the real reason Fable 5 is online again, not because a classifier defeated the rule. Because the government that imposed the restriction chose to remove it. And here's the important nuance. Anthropic didn't just flip the switch back on in hope. Once they were allowed to redeploy, they shipped a fix first. On the 30th of June, they published a write-up on redeploying Fable 5, and that's where the real story lives. They trained a brand new safety classifier, and this classifier watches for the exact technique in the Amazon report, the specific jailbreak, and it blocks it in over 99% of cases. That's their number as of the 30th of June write-up. Over 99% as of that date. Not a permanent guarantee, a measured result at the time they shipped it. But here is the smart part. What happens when a request gets blocked? It doesn't just fail. Let me walk you through what you'd actually see. You send a prompt to Fable 5. The classifier flags it as matching the block technique. Instead of an error screen, your request gets quietly rerouted to Opus 4.8. A different model handles it, and you are told that it happened. So you are never left staring at a dead end. Here is a fallback, and here is transparency. If you notice a response come back and you are informed it's from Opus 4.8, that's not a bug. That's the classifier doing its job. Now let me say the honest thing out loud, because this is the whole point of this channel. Fable 5 did not come back weaker on safety. It came back stronger. It has more safeguards now, not fewer. A new classifier that didn't exist before. Anyone telling you the AI got unleashed or uncensored is selling you a story, The truth is the opposite. The government lifted the export control, and Anthropic added a tighter lock on the exact door that was the problem. Okay, so it's back. It's safer. What's the catch? Because here is always a catch, and this one matters. Fable 5 is not unlimited. For Pro, Max, Team, and Select Enterprise plans, Fable 5 is included for up to 50% of your weekly usage limits. And that deal runs through the 7th of July, 2026. After the 7th of July, using Fable 5 requires usage credits. Read that again, because this is what the hype videos will skip. It's back, but it is metered. Half your weekly cap for 1 week, and then it moves to credits. So enjoy it, but don't get too attached to the free ride. This is a temporary usage window, not a permanent open door. And let me spell out what changes on the 7th of July. Because it's not that Fable 5 disappears. Before the 7th of July, it eats into that 50% slice of your normal weekly allowance at no extra charge. After the 7th of July, that included allowance ends, and continued use draws on usage credits instead. So if Fable 5 becomes part of your workflow this week, plan for the fact that next week it has a price attached. Mark the date, so let's pull it together. What does this actually mean for you? If you are on a paid Claude plan, you now have access to one of the most capable models Anthropic makes. A model so capable, it triggered an actual government export control order, and it's sitting right there in Claude.ai and Claude Code today. That's genuinely a big deal. You don't often get to use the thing that made a government pay attention, but be precise about why it made them pay attention. It wasn't raw intelligence for its own sake. It was one specific jailbroken capability around exploit code, now guarded by a classifier built for exactly that technique. So use it with the full picture. It's back with a stronger safety classifier, watching for the specific jailbreak that pulled it offline. It reroutes to Opus 4.8 when something gets blocked, and it's capped at half your weekly usage through the 7th of July before it starts costing credits. That's the real story, not uncensored. Not unleashed, redeployed, with more guardrails, a temporary allowance, and a very clear reason it was gone in the first place. The powerful model the US restricted is back for everyone, but it came back smarter about the one thing that got it in trouble. And honestly, that's the version of this news that's actually exciting. Not a model breaking free, a model coming back, patched, transparent, and more capable than most people will ever push it. Try it this week while the window's open. Watch for the reroute to Opus 4.8 if something gets blocked. That's the classifier doing its job. And remember the 7th of July. That's when the free half allowance turns into credits. That's the return of Claude Fable 5, restricted, fixed, and back online. Stay curious. This is AI Unpacked.